The mahogany desk gleamed under crystal chandeliers. Papers scattered across polished wood. A Mont Blanc pen poised above a signature line worth $14 million. Derek Morrison leaned forward, his Armani suit pressed against Italian leather. The contract waited. His empire depended on this moment. Have you ever loved someone so much you disappear to save them? Hi viewers, kindly tell us where you're watching from and what time it is. Warm welcome to the family. Enjoy the story. Then gravity betrayed him. A single sheet of paper drifted to the marble floor. Not part of the deal. Something else entirely. An ultrasound image. Grainy. Black and white. The date stamped in the corner read 18 years ago. His breath caught in his throat. He knew exactly where he was that summer. The woman cleaning his mansion froze. Her dark hands trembled as she reached for the fallen paper. Too late. The image stared back at him from the floor. Initials in the top corner. KW. His chest tightened. The room spun. Blood drained from his face. That's my daughter. 3 weeks earlier, none of them knew their lives were about to explode. Have you ever loved someone so much you disappear to save them? That was Keisha Williams at 5:30 every morning. Steam rose from her coffee cup in the cramped kitchen. Sunlight leaked through blinds that had seen better decades. The apartment smelled like instant coffee and hope running thin. Morning, Mama. Marcus shuffled in wearing yesterday's jeans and tomorrow's dreams. 18 years old with eyes that held too much wisdom for his age. She smiled. The same smile she'd perfected years ago when the lights got cut off, and she told him it was an adventure. Morning, baby. Coffee's fresh. He poured himself a cup, added sugar they couldn't afford to waste. His acceptance letter from Columbia University sat on the counter between unpaid bills. Neither mentioned it. Both knew the numbers didn't add up. Keisha's phone buzzed. Another job opportunity. She'd been cleaning houses since Marcus learned to walk. Rich people's messes paid better than poor people's problems. You working late again tonight? Marcus asked. Mrs. Henderson needs her guest room deep cleaned. Important visitors coming. She stirred her coffee, avoiding his eyes. Important visitors meant extra money. Extra money meant keeping their heads above water for another week. Marcus opened his laptop. Scholarship applications covered the screen like digital prayers. His fingers moved across keys with the confidence of someone who'd never known failure. Keisha watched him work and felt her chest tighten with pride and panic. The eviction notice hid under a stack of coupons. 60 days. She'd kept it from him for 3 weeks. Math was simple. Rent plus utilities plus food divided by minimum wage jobs equaled impossible. Her phone rang. Unknown number. Hello, Miss Williams. This is regarding a domestic position. Live in Greenwich, Connecticut. The family requires someone with impeccable references and absolute discretion. Keisha's heart hammered. Live-in meant steady money. Greenwich meant serious money. What kind of position? Household management. Cleaning, organizing, occasional meal preparation. The estate is quite large. The compensation is generous for the right candidate. She scribbled numbers on a napkin. The amount made her dizzy. 6 months of this job would cover Marcus's first-year tuition. Maybe 2 years if she lived carefully. Are you interested in hearing more details? Keisha glanced at Marcus. His scholarship essay filled the laptop screen. The title read, Breaking Cycles, How Education Changes Everything. Yes, she whispered. I'm very interested. The caller's voice turned crisp. Professional. Excellent. I'll email you the application. Background checks are mandatory. References will be contacted immediately. If selected, you'd start within the week. The line went dead. Keisha stared at her phone. Who was that? Marcus looked up from his laptop. Just another job possibility. She forced casualness into her voice. Nothing definite, but her fingers trembled as she reached for the small silver locket around her neck. She'd worn it every day for 18 years. Never took it off. Never opened it in front of Marcus. Inside was a photograph. 2 young people on a beach. Cape Cod, summer 2006. She was 19 and stupid and desperate to forget her mother's funeral. He was older, sophisticated, running from his own demons. They'd never exchanged last names. She'd never try to find him. Some nights were meant to disappear. 9 months later, Marcus arrived. Perfect and healthy, and hers alone. The locket grew warm against her skin. Something about that phone call felt dangerous. Like fate was setting a trap disguised as an opportunity. Her phone chimed. Email notification. The application had arrived. I'm heading to the library, she announced, grabbing her purse. Need to print something? Marcus nodded, already lost in his essay again. Keisha kissed the top of his head. His hair smelled like the baby shampoo she'd used when he was small, when her biggest problem was finding enough quarters for the laundromat. Love you, baby. Love you too, Mama. She walked toward the door, the locket's weight heavier with each step. 18 years of secrets felt suddenly fragile, like a house of cards in a hurricane. The email sat in her inbox, waiting, one click away from changing everything. Some doors, once opened, could never be closed again. Where are you watching from? Drop your city and hit subscribe. This story gets darker before it gets better. The library parking lot was almost empty. Keisha sat in her 15-year-old Honda, engine ticking as it cooled. Her phone glowed with the unopened email. She thought about Marcus's essay, about breaking cycles, about how some opportunities came disguised as disasters. Her finger hovered over the screen. Everything in her life had led to this moment. Every sacrifice, every sleepless night, every time she'd chosen his future over her own comfort. She clicked open the email. The first line made her blood freeze. Position available. Domestic staff of the Morrison Estate, Greenwich, Connecticut. Morrison. The name hit her like cold water. She knew that name. Somewhere in the dark corners of her memory, it whispered promises of trouble. Ever felt like the universe was playing a cruel joke on you? Keisha stared at her phone screen, Morrison flashing like a neon warning sign. The Macon Public Library smelled like old books and broken dreams. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead while Keisha claimed a computer in the back corner. Her hand shook as she typed the address into Google. Greenwich, Connecticut, Morrison Estate. Images loaded slowly on the ancient desktop. Her breath caught. A mansion sprawled across manicured lawns. Pillars supported wraparound porches. Gardens that probably cost more than she'd earn in 5 years. Swimming pools that could house entire families. She scrolled down, found a name. Derek Morrison, hedge fund executive. Net worth estimated at $200 million. His photograph filled the screen. Salt and pepper hair. Strong jawline. Eyes that looked familiar in a way that made her stomach twist. Have you ever seen a ghost wearing a $1,000 suit? Keisha's finger traced the screen. Something about his face triggered memories she'd buried deep. Fragments surfaced like debris after a storm. Cape Cod, summer 2006. A bonfire on the beach. Expensive wine shared from plastic cups. Hands that shook when they touched her face. A voice that whispered about failures and fresh starts. Her phone slipped from nervous fingers, clattering on the library table. An elderly man at the next computer looked over with concern. You okay, honey? Keisha forced a smile. Fine. Just clumsy. But she wasn't fine. Memory was a dangerous thing when you'd spent 18 years running from it. She clicked through more images. Derek Morrison at charity galas. Derek Morrison shaking hands with politicians. Derek Morrison with his arm around a blonde woman at some society event. His wife? Girlfriend? The photos looked recent. Keisha's chest tightened. This man had a life. A real life with real people who belonged in his world. She'd been a mistake. One night of poor judgment that produced the most important person in her universe. Would you take a job that felt too good to be true? Comment, take it or run. More scrolling revealed business articles. Morrison Capital Management. Successful hedge fund specializing in emerging markets. Offices in Manhattan, London, Tokyo. And she found something that made her blood run cold. A news article from 2006. Local investment firm weathers federal investigation. Derek Morrison's company had survived some kind of scandal. Accusations of insider trading. Charges eventually dropped, but the damage had been done. The timeline matched perfectly. Summer 2006. When she'd met him in Cape Cod, he'd been drunk and desperate, talking about losing everything, about needing to disappear for a while. She remembered now. He'd been staying at his family's beach house, hiding from reporters and lawyers. She'd been working at a catering company, serving cocktails to people who spent more on shoes than her family spent on food. He'd been kind to her, talked to her like she mattered, asked about her dreams instead of ordering her around. One thing led to another. Young grief met middle-age crisis on a beach that smelled like salt and possibility. They'd never exchanged numbers, never made promises. She'd snuck out before dawn, taking nothing but memories and consequences. Now fate wanted to put them in the same house. Keisha printed the job application. Her hands moved automatically while her mind raced. The salary would solve every problem. Marcus could go to Colombia. They could stop living paycheck to paycheck. But the price might be higher than money could measure. The application asked for references, previous employers, background checks, all normal requests that felt suddenly threatening. What if he remembered her? What if he didn't? Which possibility scared her more? The library's closing announcement echoed through empty halls. Keisha gathered her papers and walked back to her car. The Honda started on the third try, engine coughing like an old man with too many secrets. She drove home through familiar streets, lined with houses that had seen better decades. This was her world. Small, safe, predictable. Greenwich, Connecticut might as well be another planet. Marcus was asleep on the couch when she arrived. His laptop balanced on his chest, scholarship applications glowing on the screen. She covered him with an old blanket and kissed his forehead. At the kitchen table, she spread out the job application, pen poised over blank lines that would determine their future. Name, Keisha Williams. Age, 37. Previous employment, various domestic positions. References, available upon request. The questions continued. Had she ever been convicted of a crime? Did she have reliable transportation? Could she pass a drug test? All easy answers until the final question. Is there anything in your background that might create a conflict of interest with this position? Her pen hovered over the line. 18 years of silence balanced on the tip of blue ink. She thought about Marcus's dreams, about Columbia University and breaking cycles and futures that seemed impossible from their cramped apartment in Macon, Georgia. Some lies were acts of love. She wrote, "No." The application went into an envelope addressed to Morrison Estate. One stamp, one prayer, one secret that could explode everything. Have you ever had to choose between safety and your dreams? That choice was about to be made for Keisha Williams. Her phone rang at exactly 9 a.m. Unknown Connecticut number. Miss Williams? This is Margaret Shunn, house manager for the Morrison Estate. Your references were impeccable. Keisha's heart hammered against her ribs. She'd listed 3 previous employers who'd loved her work. None mentioned the gap in her resume from late 2006 to early 2007. Pregnancy and newborn care didn't fit on job applications. Thank you. I'm very interested in the position. Mr. Morrison requires absolute discretion. The estate hosts important guests regularly. Confidentiality agreements will be signed. Is this acceptable? Red flags should have been waving. Warning bells should have been ringing. Instead, all Keisha heard was the sound of opportunity knocking. Absolutely acceptable. Excellent. When can you start? The question hit like cold water. She'd expected interviews, background checks, weeks of waiting. How soon do you need someone? Immediately. Our previous staff member left unexpectedly. Mr. Morrison has important business associates arriving next week. The estate must be perfect. Keisha looked around her small apartment. Bills covered the kitchen counter. The eviction notice peeked out from under expired coupons. Marcus slept on the couch, laptop still open to scholarship applications. I could start Monday. Perfect. I'll email you the contract and confidentiality agreement. Salary, benefits, and living quarters are all detailed. Please review and return by noon if you accept. The line went dead. Keisha stared at her phone like it might explode. Marcus stirred on the couch, stretching arms that had grown too long for his teenage body. Morning, Mama. Who was calling so early? Job opportunity. She forced her voice to stay casual. Live-in position. Good money. He sat up, instantly alert. Marcus had inherited her survival instincts along with her stubborn streak. Where? Connecticut. Greenwich. The words felt foreign in her mouth. like speaking a language she'd forgotten. That's rich people territory. His eyes narrowed. How much money? The email notification chimed. Contract attached. Keisha opened it while Marcus watched over her shoulder. The salary number made them both freeze. That's more than you make in a year, Marcus whispered. 3 times more, Keisha corrected. Her hands trembled as she scrolled through the contract. Full room and board. Health benefits. 2 weeks paid vacation. A signing bonus that would cover their immediate debts. This is too good to be true, Marcus said quietly. What's the catch? Smart boy. Too smart for his own good sometimes. Live-in means I'd be gone for months at a time. You'd stay here with Jerome. Finish your senior year. Apply to colleges. They both knew the real catch. Columbia University had accepted him, but acceptance letters didn't pay tuition bills. This job could change that. What kind of family needs a live-in housekeeper with a confidentiality agreement? Marcus asked, the question she'd been avoiding. Wealthy people value their privacy, or they have secrets. Her son's intuition was dangerous. Keisha folded the contract, decision already made. Some opportunities don't come twice, baby. Your mama knows how to clean houses and keep her mouth shut. That's all they need. Marcus studied her face with eyes that saw too much. What aren't you telling me? Everything. 18 years of everything. I'm telling you that Columbia University costs $60,000 a year. This job pays enough to make that possible. The argument ended there. Dreams trumped out every time. If you had one shot to change your child's life, would you take it? Drop one word. By noon, Keisha had signed the contract and emailed it back. The signing bonus hit her bank account within hours. More money than she'd ever seen at once. She paid the overdue rent, cleared the utility bills, bought groceries that included name brands and fresh vegetables. Marcus watched in amazement as their refrigerator filled with food that hadn't come from the discount shelf. That evening, Jerome came over with Chinese takeout. Her on-again, off-again boyfriend for 5 years. He knew her better than anyone except Marcus. His construction job kept him tired but stable. A good man with rough hands and a gentle heart. This job feels wrong, he said, unpacking lo mein and sweet and sour pork. Rich people don't pay this much unless they're buying silence. They're buying quality service, Keisha defended. I'm good at what I do. You're good at a lot of things. Doesn't mean you should sell them all. The comment stung because it held truth. She'd spent 18 years making herself invisible, keeping secrets, avoiding questions. Now she was about to get paid handsomely for those exact skills. Marcus needs this opportunity. Marcus needs his mama safe. They ate in tense silence while Marcus finished homework at the kitchen table. Normal family dinner in a not normal situation. Later, after Marcus went to bed, Jerome pulled Keisha into his arms. His kiss tasted like worry and resignation. When do you leave? He whispered against her hair. Sunday night. They want me there Monday morning. His arms tightened around her. Something about this feels permanent. She wanted to argue, but the words stuck in her throat. Some changes were too big to survive unchanged. They made love that night with desperate tenderness, like soldiers before battle, bodies seeking comfort while minds prepared for war. Afterward, Jerome traced patterns on her bare shoulder. Promise me something. What? If this goes bad, you run. Don't try to fix it. Don't try to protect everyone. Just run. Keisha promised, knowing it was a lie. She'd never run from anything that threatened Marcus's future, not even if it meant facing ghosts she'd buried 18 years ago. Sunday came too fast and too slow. Her single suitcase looked pathetic next to Marcus's confident smile. Make me proud, Mama. She already had. Every day for 18 years. Picture this. A woman who spent 18 years invisible, suddenly driving through the gates of paradise. That was Keisha Williams at 8:47 p.m. on a Sunday night in October. Her Honda coughed and wheezed up the winding driveway. Manicured lawns stretched in every direction, lit by landscape lighting that cost more than her rent. The Morrison estate wasn't just a house. It was a statement written in marble and arrogance. She parked behind the main house, feeling like a trespasser at her own execution. Margaret Chin met her at the service entrance. Mid-50s, perfectly pressed blouse, smile that never reached her eyes. Miss Williams. Right on time. Mr. Morrison appreciates punctuality. Is he here? Keisha's voice cracked slightly. Business trip. Returns Wednesday. Perfect timing for your orientation. Relief and disappointment warred in Keisha's chest. She needed time to prepare, but the waiting felt like slow torture. The servants' quarters occupied the third floor of the main house. Keisha's room was larger than her entire apartment back home. Private bathroom, cable television, windows that looked out over gardens worth more than small countries. House rules are simple, Margaret explained, handing her a thick binder. Mr. Morrison values privacy above all else. No personal guests, no photographs, no discussion of house business outside these walls. Keisha nodded, fingers gripping the binder like a lifeline. Your primary responsibilities include the main living areas, Mr. Morrison's private study, and the guest wing. Deep cleaning occurs monthly. Daily maintenance keeps everything spotless. They walked through rooms that belonged to museums. Persian rugs covered hardwood floors that gleamed like mirrors. Crystal chandeliers caught light and threw rainbows across silk wallpaper. Art that probably belonged in galleries watched from gilded frames. Margaret's tone suggested the subject was closed. Divorced. That explained the absence of family photographs. The house felt beautiful, but empty. Like a museum where someone happened to sleep. Any children? Margaret's expression tightened. Mr. Morrison has a son from his previous marriage. David. He's 22, lives in California, rarely visits. Not much older than Marcus. The thought made Keisha's stomach twist. The guest wing hosts important business associates regularly. Absolute discretion is required. Mr. Morrison's clients value their privacy as much as he does. Translation: rich people doing rich people things they didn't want poor people talking about. I understand completely. Margaret left her alone to unpack. Keisha sat on the edge of a bed that could have housed her entire family. Her single suitcase looked ridiculous in a massive room. She called Marcus. Made it safely. The place is incredible. Rich incredible or scary incredible? Both. She looked out the window at grounds that disappeared into darkness. How was school? Boring without you there to worry about my grades. His laugh sounded forced. Jerome stopped by, brought dinner, said to tell you the Honda made weird noises driving home. Everything was falling apart except the plan. I'll send money for repairs this week. Mama, are you sure about this? You sound different. Smart boy. Too smart. I'm fine, baby. Just tired. Love you. Love you too. She hung up before her voice could betray more fear. That first night, sleep came in fragments. Every sound was foreign. Every shadow held potential danger. She'd spent 18 years building walls around her secret. Now, she was living inside the very truth she'd hidden from. Morning brought Margaret with coffee and schedules. Mr. Morrison returns Wednesday afternoon. Extremely important guests arrive Thursday. Everything must be perfect. What kind of guests? Business associates. International investors. The kind of men who notice imperfection. Margaret's smile was sharp as glass. Failure is not acceptable. Keisha spent Tuesday learning the house's rhythms. Rooms that required daily attention. Surfaces that showed every fingerprint. Antiques worth more than college educations. Derek Morrison's study made her hands shake. Mahogany desk dominated the room. Leather chairs faced floor-to-ceiling windows. Bookshelves held first editions and business awards. His presence saturated everything, even in his absence. A photograph on his desk showed a younger Derek with a teenage boy. Both wore expensive suits and uncomfortable smiles. Father and son. But the distance between them was visible even in still images. She cleaned around the photograph carefully. Not touching, not disturbing, pretending her heart wasn't racing. Wednesday arrived with the weight of Judgment Day. Margaret grew more nervous as afternoon approached. Remember, first impressions determine everything. Mr. Morrison has exacting standards. At 3:15 p.m., a black Mercedes pulled through the front gates. Keisha watched from an upstairs window as Derek Morrison emerged from the back seat. 18 years had added silver to his dark hair, lines around eyes that still held the same intensity she remembered from that beach in Cape Cod. He looked successful, confident, like a man who'd never doubted his place in the world. Nothing like the broken, desperate person she'd comforted one night when they were both running from different kinds of pain. Margaret's voice echoed through the house. "Miss Williams, please report to the main foyer." The moment of truth. Keisha walked downstairs on legs that felt like water. Each step brought her closer to a confrontation 18 years in the making. Derek Morrison stood in his foyer, sorting through mail. He looked up as she approached. Their eyes met. Time stopped. Recognition flickered across his features like lightning before clouds. "Brief. Dangerous. Gone. You must be the new housekeeper," he said. His voice held the same warmth she remembered, but polished now. "Corporate." "Yes, sir. Keisha Williams." He studied her face for a moment too long. Something shifted behind his eyes. Memory trying to surface. Then Margaret appeared with schedules and demands, breaking the spell. "Mr. Morrison, your guests arrive tomorrow at 6. Everything is prepared." "Excellent." He handed Keisha his briefcase without looking at her again. "Please take this to my study." She carried his briefcase up the stairs, hands trembling with adrenaline and terror. He didn't remember her. Not yet, but memory was a dangerous thing, and they had all night for it to sharpen. Have you ever been the only honest face in a room of polished smiles? That was Keisha Williams preparing for the most dangerous dinner party of her life. Thursday morning brought chaos disguised as elegance. Caterers arrived at dawn. Florists transformed the dining room into something for magazines. Margaret barked orders like a general preparing for war. The Yamamoto Group from Tokyo, Senator Richardson from Washington, 3 hedge fund executives whose names you won't recognize, but whose money runs half of Wall Street. Margaret checked items off her clipboard. These men control billions. Everything must be flawless. Keisha polished crystal glasses until they disappeared in her hands. Each reflection showed a woman walking deeper into dangerous territory. Derek Morrison had avoided her since their brief meeting. No direct contact, no eye contact. Instructions came through Margaret like she didn't exist, but she felt him watching. Morning became afternoon. Keisha changed into the black uniform Margaret provided. Simple dress, white apron, invisible name tag. Costume for playing the help. "Remember," Margaret warned, "you serve, you clear, you disappear." These men don't see staff as people. Keep it that way. At 5:30 p.m., expensive cars began arriving. Mercedes, BMW, one Rolls-Royce that probably cost more than most people's houses. Men in $1,000 suits stepped out like they owned everything they touched. Keisha stationed herself in the kitchen, watching through service windows as the powerful gathered in Derek's living room. Champagne flowed. Laughter echoed through halls built for entertaining kings. First course in 10 minutes, the head caterer announced. Keisha balanced a tray of appetizers and entered the dining room. 12 men sat around a table that could have fed entire neighborhoods. Conversation stopped as she approached. "Gentlemen, please enjoy the amuse-bouche." Her voice stayed steady despite the earthquake in her chest. She served each guest, invisible as furniture. Rich men talking about richer deals. Numbers that meant nothing to normal people, but everything to their world. Then Derek Morrison looked directly at her. "Have we met before?" His question cut through dinner conversation like glass. Every head turned. 12 pairs of eyes focused on the help who'd somehow become interesting. Keisha's hands didn't shake. 18 years of practice in disappearing served her well. "No, sir. I don't believe so. You look familiar." His stare intensified, memory working behind expensive eyes. "I have one of those faces, sir." She finished serving and retreated to the kitchen before he could respond. Margaret grabbed her arm. "What was that about?" "Nothing. He thought he recognized me." "From where?" "He didn't. People always think they know the help from somewhere." Keisha's lie came smooth as silk. "It's psychological. Guilt makes them think they should remember us." Margaret studied her face for danger signs. Found none. "Stay invisible. These men don't like mysteries." But Derek Morrison was already solving one. Through the service window, Keisha watched him during dinner. His attention kept drifting from billion-dollar conversations to the kitchen door. Wheels turning, connections forming. She served the main course without incident, cleared plates like a ghost, brought dessert with hands that had stopped trembling through sheer force of will. "Excellent meal, Derek," one guest commented. "Where did you find such efficient staff?" "Recent addition," Derek replied, eyes finding Keisha across the room. "Sometimes the best people appear when you need them most." The comment felt loaded with meaning she didn't want to understand. After dinner, the men moved to Derek's study for cigars and whiskey. Keisha helped clear the dining room, every nerve ending on fire. Margaret dismissed the extra staff around midnight. Early morning tomorrow, Mr. Morrison hosts breakfast for the Tokyo group. Keisha climbed to her third-floor room, exhausted from hours of careful invisibility. She'd survive the evening without exposure. Tomorrow she'd survive breakfast, one day at a time until the secret was safe. Her phone showed 3 missed calls from Marcus. She dialed back immediately. "Mama? Thank God. I was worried. Sorry, baby. Working late. Big dinner party. Jerome said the Honda needs major repairs. Engine problems. Might be time to let her go. More problems. More expenses. The car that got her to this job might not get her home from it. We'll figure something out. How was school? Weird. Got called to the guidance counselor's office. Someone requested my academic records." Keisha's blood froze. "What kind of someone?" "Don't know. Mrs. Patterson said it was routine college verification, but I haven't applied anywhere that would check transcripts yet." Fear crawled up her spine like ice water. Did she say who requested them? Some educational consulting firm. Probably scholarship-related. Marcus yawned. "I'm not worried. My grades are solid." But Keisha was terrified. Rich people had resources, ways of finding information, connecting dots that should stay scattered. "Get some sleep, baby. Love you. Love you too, Mama." She hung up and stared at her reflection in the darkened window. 18 years of careful anonymity might be unraveling because Derek Morrison's memory was too good. A soft knock interrupted her panic. Margaret's voice came through the door. "Miss Williams? Mr. Morrison requests your presence in his study." Every instinct screamed danger. "Is there a problem?" He didn't specify. "Please come down immediately." Keisha changed from her nightgown back into the uniform, armor for whatever battle waited in Derek Morrison's study. She walked downstairs through a house that felt like a trap closing around her. Each step brought her closer to a conversation that could destroy everything she'd built. The study door stood open. Derek Morrison sat behind his massive desk, a single lamp providing intimate lighting. 2 glasses of whiskey waited on the mahogany surface. "Please sit down." His voice was gentle, dangerous. Keisha remained standing. "You wanted to see me, Mr. Morrison? I've been thinking about your face all evening." He leaned back in his leather chair, trying a place where we might have met. "I told you, sir. We haven't met." "See, that's interesting." He picked up one of the whiskey glasses. "Because I never forget a woman who saves my life." The words hit like physical blows. He remembered. Everything was about to change. Some conversations change everything in your life. This was one of them. Keisha's legs felt like water, but she stayed standing. 18 years of practice in survival mode kicked in. "I don't know what you're talking about, Mr. Morrison." Derek Morrison smiled. Not the polished corporate smile he wore for business associates. Something rawer, more dangerous. Cape Cod, summer 2006. Beachside bonfire. You were serving drinks at the Henderson party. The room spun. Air became thick as honey. You're mistaken. You wore a white sundress. Yellow flowers. Your hair was longer then. His voice grew softer with each detail. "You found me on the beach around midnight, crying like a broken man." Memory exploded behind her eyes. Him sitting alone on cold sand, expensive suit jacket crumpled beside him, tears reflecting moonlight. A federal investigation destroying everything he'd built. "I don't remember any of that. You sat with me for 3 hours, asked about my dreams instead of my failures, made me feel human again." He stood, moving around the desk like a hunter closing distance. "We talked about second chances, about disappearing from lives that didn't fit anymore. Keisha backed toward the door. I should return to my quarters. You told me your mother had died. Cancer. That you were working multiple jobs to pay off her medical bills. Each word was a nail in her coffin. You said you understood what it felt like to lose everything. Mr. Morrison, I think you're confusing me with someone else. He opened his desk drawer, pulled out a photograph, placed it on the mahogany surface between them. The image stole her breath. Two people on a beach, younger versions of themselves, his arm around her shoulders, both smiling at someone behind the camera. A stranger had snapped the picture when they weren't paying attention. I kept this for 18 years, Derek said quietly. Couldn't explain why. Until tonight. Keisha stared at proof of a night that changed everything. They looked happy in the photograph, like people who belonged together instead of strangers crossing paths in the dark. Where did you get this? My camera. I found it months later when I developed the role. You'd already disappeared. His eyes searched her face. I tried to find you. Asked everyone at the catering company. No one knew your last name, because she'd used a fake name. Maria Santos. Another girl's identity borrowed for summer work. Protection she'd learned growing up poor and invisible. I need to go. She turned toward the door. Keisha, her real name, stopped her cold. We need to talk. Sum this speech in one word, go. There's nothing to talk about. I think there is. Derek moved closer. 18 years ago, we spent one night together. Now you're working in my house under circumstances that feel too convenient to be coincidence. I needed a job. You needed help. That's all. Is it? His voice dropped to a whisper. Because I've been doing math all evening. Summer 2006 to now. 18 years. The right timeline for a lot of things. Terror and rage roared in her chest. You don't know anything about my life. I know you left before dawn without saying goodbye. I know you've been running from something ever since. He gestured around the opulent study. I know this job pays 3 times the market rate. I know you needed money desperately enough to take it. Lots of people need money, but not everyone has your particular skill set for disappearing. Derek sat on the edge of his desk. I've spent 18 years wondering what happened to the woman who saved my life. Now she's here, cleaning my house, avoiding my eyes. I saved your life. That night, I was planning to end everything. The investigation, the shame, the failure. You sat with me until sunrise and reminded me that tomorrow could be different than yesterday. The confession hit like ice water. She remembered his desperation, the way he talked about permanent solutions to temporary problems. But she thought it was just rich man drama. Derek, his first name slipped out before she could stop it. There she is. His smile was sad and grateful and dangerous all at once. The woman who calls me by my name instead of sir. This can't happen. I have a life. A family. Family. His eyes sharpened. Husband? Children? The question hung in the air like smoke from a gun. Everything balanced on her next words. My son. Truth slipped out before wisdom could stop it. He's 18. Derek's face went white. 18. Simple math became a loaded weapon. It's not what you think, isn't it? He stood again, pacing behind the desk like a caged animal. 18 years ago. One night. A son you've raised alone. You don't understand. Then explain it to me. His voice carried 18 years of unanswered questions. Tell me why the timing is exactly right. Tell me why you ran. Tell me why you're here now. Keisha felt the walls closing in. Every instinct screamed to run, but her feet wouldn't move. Marcus needed this job. His future depended on her staying invisible. There's nothing to explain. We had one night. I moved on. You moved on. End of story. Except you didn't move on, did you? Derek pulled out his phone. Because I made some calls today. Very discreet calls. About a young man named Marcus Williams. Exceptional student. Academic scholarships pending. Recently accepted to Columbia University. Blood drained from her face. You investigated my son? I investigated the timeline. His voice grew harder. 18 years old. Born in Georgia. No father listed on the birth certificate. A mother who spent his entire life working jobs that don't require background checks. Stop. Brilliant kid. Looks just like his mother. Except for the eyes. Derek moved closer. He has his father's eyes. You need to stop this right now. Do I? Derek's corporate mask slipped completely. Because if I'm right, if he's mine, then you've stolen 18 years of my son's life. I've protected him. The words exploded out before she could stop them. Truth like broken glass, cutting everyone in the room. Derek stopped pacing. From what? From me? From this? She gestured around the mansion. From becoming another rich kid who thinks the world owes him everything. From growing up believing money solves every problem. That's not your choice to make. It was my choice. My body. My pregnancy. My son. Our son. The words hung between them like a bridge on fire. He's not yours. You signed nothing. Claimed nothing. You were a stranger I met one night. A stranger who's about to be his father whether you like it or not. Fear turned to fury in her chest. You can't just decide to be his father after 18 years. Watch me. Derek moved to his desk, pulled out a business card. My lawyer. DNA test. Legal paternity. It's all very simple. I'll disappear. You'll never find us. With what money? Your car's broken. Your apartment's being foreclosed. Your son needs Columbia tuition. His smile was sharp as broken glass. You came here because you had nowhere else to go. Now neither of you is leaving until we sort this out. The trap snapped shut around her. What do you want? I want to meet my son. Have you had a moment that ruined something you built? That moment was happening right now. You can't meet him. Keisha's voice cracked under pressure. He doesn't know about you. Derek Morrison stared at her like she'd spoken a foreign language. Doesn't know about me? He's 18 years old. How does he not know who his father is? Because I never told him. You never told him. Derek repeated the words slowly, like processing a foreign concept. My son has lived 18 years not knowing his father exists. He's not your son. Biology doesn't make you a father. The hell it doesn't. Derek's corporate polish cracked completely. You decided I wasn't good enough? Too damaged? Too dangerous? I decided he deserved better than a one-night stand with a broken man I'd never see again. The words hit like bullets. Derek flinched but kept coming. So you let him grow up poor instead, struggling, wondering why his father never wanted him. He never wondered because he never knew there was a father to want him. Keisha's protective instincts flared white-hot. I gave him everything. Love, support, stability. Things money can't buy. Things money can make easier. Derek gestured around his mansion. Princeton education instead of student. The question stopped her cold. In 18 years, she'd never considered that possibility. Rich and good seemed like opposites in her world. Because I've seen what wealth does to people. How it isolates them. Makes them think they're better than everyone else. Like me. Yes, like you. Derek laughed, but it sounded like breaking glass. The woman who won't let me know my own son is judging my character. I'm protecting my son from disappointment. By denying him choices, Derek pulled out his phone again. I could call him right now. Introduce myself. See what he thinks about having a billionaire father. Terror shot through her like electricity. Don't you dare. Then what do you suggest? Because this conversation ends one of two ways. Either you help me meet Marcus, or I meet him without you. 18 years of careful protection balanced on a knife's edge. He'll hate me. Her voice broke on the admission. If he finds out I kept you from him, he'll never forgive me. Maybe, or maybe he'll understand why you were scared. Derek's tone softened slightly. But keeping this secret longer won't make it hurt less. What would you say in 10 words? Type it now. Keisha sank into the leather chair she'd been avoiding. 18 years of strength crumbled under the weight of impossible choices. I was 19, pregnant, alone. You were this wealthy, powerful man who'd used me for one night and disappeared. Tears she'd held back for 18 years finally broke free. I couldn't compete with your world. I couldn't give Marcus what you could give him. So I gave him what I could. Love without conditions. Derek moved around the desk, sitting in the chair beside her, instead of behind his fortress of mahogany and power. I didn't use you. His voice was gentler now. That night meant something to me. You meant something to me. Then why didn't you find me? I tried. For months. But Maria Santos didn't exist, did she? The fake name hung between them like evidence of mutual deception. I was protecting myself. From what? From hoping for something impossible. She wiped tears with the back of her hand. From believing a rich white man would want anything permanent with a poor black girl from Georgia. The racial truth sat heavy in the expensive air. 18 years ago, interracial relationships faced more resistance, especially across class lines that seemed impossible to bridge. You think I cared about any of that? I think you were drunk and desperate, and I was convenient. Derek was quiet for a long moment. When he spoke, his voice carried 18 years of regret. I was drunk and desperate, and you were the kindest person I'd met in months of lawyers and reporters and people who wanted things from me. He leaned forward. But convenient? No, you were extraordinary. Extraordinary enough to abandon. I didn't abandon you. You left. I woke up alone wondering if I'd dreamed the whole thing. Because that's what girls like me do in your world. We disappear when the fantasy ends. Is that what you think happened? Fantasy? I think we were two broken people who found each other for one night. I think you went back to your real life, and I went back to mine. I think bringing Marcus into this complicates everything. Derek stood and walked to the window, overlooking his manicured grounds. Maybe it does, but he's already in it. He's always been in it. The question is whether he gets to choose his own relationship with it. What does that mean? It means I want to meet my son. Not as Derek Morrison, billionaire. Not as his father, necessarily. Just as someone who knew his mother once and wants to know him now. The proposal was reasonable. Terrifying, but reasonable. And if he wants nothing to do with you, then I respect his choice. Derek turned back to her. But if he wants to know me, you don't get to stop that either. He's got his whole life planned out. College, career, future. This could destroy everything. Or it could give him more options. Or it could tear him apart. Derek moved back to his desk, pulled out a sheet of paper, and began writing. What are you doing? Writing you a check. Full payment for 6 months' work. Plus à bonus. He signed with the same Mont Blanc pen that had started this nightmare. Take it. Go home. Tell Marcus you got fired for some minor issue. Use the money to pay for Columbia. He slid the check across the desk. The amount was staggering. Enough to cover Marcus's entire undergraduate education. This is hush money. This is a choice. Take the money, keep the secret, raise our son in peace. Or stay, help me meet him, and deal with the consequences together. Why would you let me choose? Because 18 years ago, you didn't have choices. You were young, poor, alone, and scared. Now you're older, still poor, still alone, but not powerless. Derek met her eyes. I won't force myself into Marcus's life, but I won't let you make that decision for him anymore either. The check sat between them like a loaded gun. Freedom or truth. Safety or honesty. The life she'd built or the one she'd never imagined. How long do I have to decide? Until tomorrow morning. My son David is flying in from California. Family weekend. Derek's smile was sad and hopeful and dangerous. Perfect time for Marcus to meet his half-brother. The words hit like a physical blow. Half-brother. David's 22. Great kid. He'll love having a younger brother who's actually smart. Another secret. Another complication. Another way her careful world was about to explode. This is insane. This is family. Derek moved toward the door. Sleep on it. But remember, Keisha, 18 years of secrets don't disappear because they're inconvenient. They just get heavier. He left her alone with the check and 18 years of choices that were about to catch up with both of them. Ever had your world catch fire while you were still living in it? Welcome to Keisha Williams's Friday morning. She hadn't slept, couldn't eat. The check sat on her nightstand like evidence of 18 years worth of mistakes. 6 figures written in Derek Morrison's precise handwriting. Enough money to solve every problem except the one that mattered most. Her phone buzzed. Marcus calling before school. Morning, Mama. You sound tired. Didn't sleep well. How are you, baby? Weird. Got another call yesterday. Same education consulting firm asking about family background. Specifically about my father. Marcus's voice carried new tension. I told them what I always tell people. Don't have one. But they kept pushing. Ice water replaced blood in her veins. Derek was moving faster than promised. What kind of questions? Birth certificate stuff. Whether I'd ever had contact with biological father. Whether anyone had ever approached me claiming paternity. Marcus paused. Mama, is there something you're not telling me? 18 years of protection balanced on her next words. Why would you ask that? Because you're working for rich people who can afford to investigate whoever they want. Because these calls started right after you took this job. Because you sound scared. Too smart. Always too smart for his own good. I'm fine, baby. Probably just standard background checks for wealthy employers. Standard background checks don't ask if your employees have secret fathers. The truth clawed at her throat. Marcus, I need you to trust me. Whatever happens, whatever you hear, remember that everything I've ever done was to protect you. Silence on the other end. Then, Mama, you're scaring me. I love you more than anything in this world. I love you too, but I'm 18 years old. If there's something I need to know, tell me. She almost did. Almost exploded 18 years of secrets right there over a phone call between Connecticut and Georgia. Almost destroyed both their lives with 3 simple words. Derek Morrison is your father. I'll call you tonight. Have a good day at school. Mama. She hung up before courage could turn into catastrophe. The check mocked her from the nightstand. Take the money, run home, keep lying. Simple solution to an impossible problem. Her phone rang again. Derek Morrison's number. Have you decided? I need more time. David's plane lands at noon. I'm picking him up myself. Perfect opportunity for you to meet him before making your choice. Derek's tone stayed businesslike, but she heard the underlying pressure. He's excited about family weekend. Mentioned wanting to meet the staff. Family weekend. Like she was part of some normal household instead of ground zero for a bomb about to explode. This is moving too fast. 18 years too slow, actually. Derek's voice hardened slightly. I've wasted enough time. My son deserves to know he has a father who wants him. Your other son deserves a weekend with his father without explosions. David's stronger than you think. He'll handle the truth better than more lies. Have you ever been the only honest face in a room of polished smiles? Tell us. The line went dead. Derek Morrison wasn't asking for permission anymore. He was announcing decisions. Keisha dressed in her black uniform like armor. If this was war, she'd face it looking professional. Margaret met her in the kitchen with updated schedules. Mr. Morrison's son arrives this afternoon. Dinner party tomorrow night includes several board members and their families. Everything must be perfect. How many guests? 16. Sit-down dinner. Multiple courses. Very formal. Margaret's expression showed strain. Mr. Morrison specifically requested you handle the main dining room service. Center stage for whatever drama Derek had planned. He wasn't just moving fast. He was orchestrating a public revelation. Any special instructions? Smile. Serve. Disappear. These people donate millions to charities. Impression management is crucial. Translation: rich people were coming to judge everything, including the help. The morning passed slowly. Keisha cleaned rooms that didn't need cleaning, polished surfaces that already gleamed, arranged flowers that looked perfect before she touched them. Busy work to keep panic at bay. At 12:47 p.m., Derek Morrison returned with his son. David Morrison looked like a younger version of his father. Same strong jawline, same confident posture, same expensive clothes worn like they belonged. But his eyes held warmth Derek's had lost somewhere in 18 years of business dealings. You must be Keisha. David shook her hand with genuine friendliness. Dad mentioned you're new. How are you settling in? Very well, thank you. Great house, isn't it? Took me years to stop getting lost. His laugh was easy, unguarded. Dad says you're from Georgia. I've never been. Always wanted to visit Savannah. It's beautiful there. Maybe you could recommend some places if I ever make it down. David glanced around the foyer with affection. Dad's been happier since you started working here. More relaxed. I haven't seen him this calm in months. The comment hit like a knife between ribs. Derek was happy because he'd found his missing son. David had no idea his world was about to change. I should return to work. Of course. Maybe we can chat more later. I like meeting the people who take care of Dad. She escaped to the kitchen before kindness could break her completely. David Morrison was a good kid. Decent, warm, genuinely nice. This revelation would hurt him too. Her phone buzzed with a text from Derek. Dinner tonight. Just family. You'll serve. Perfect time for introductions. Another text followed immediately. Bring the check. Either way, tonight changes everything. The trap was closing. In 6 hours, 18 years of secrets would either explode or get buried deeper. Either choice would cost more than she could afford. But Marcus deserved the truth, even if it destroyed them all. She crumpled the check and threw it in the trash. Some things couldn't be bought, even by billionaires. Would you accept help with conditions? Yes or no? The dining room felt like a courtroom at 7 p.m. sharp. Derek Morrison sat at the head of his mahogany table. David across from him, animated about his California life. Two men who belonged in this world of crystal and silver, talking about normal father-son things. Keisha served the first course like she was walking to her own execution. This looks incredible, David said, examining the perfectly arranged salad. You've outdone yourself, Mrs. Chun. Actually, Derek's voice cut through casual conversation like a blade. Keisha prepared dinner tonight. She's quite talented. David looked up with interest. Really? I am impressed. Where did you learn to cook like this? My mother taught me. Keisha's voice stayed steady despite the earthquake in her chest. She must have been an amazing woman. She was. Derek watched this exchange with the intensity of a predator studying prey. Every word calculated, every moment planned. Tell David about your son, Derek said casually. The request hit like a physical blow. David brightened with interest, while Keisha felt blood drain from her face. You have a son? How old? 18. The word came out like a confession. My age almost exactly. I'm 22. David's smile was genuine, warm. What's he like? Smart. Hardworking. Just got accepted to Columbia University. Columbia? That's incredible. What's his name? Time slowed to a crawl. Derek leaned forward slightly, waiting. This was the moment. The point of no return. Marcus. Marcus. David repeated the name like he was tasting it. I'd love to meet him sometime. Does he ever visit you at work? He lives in Georgia. That's far. You must miss him. David's empathy was genuine, making this harder. Dad, maybe Marcus could visit sometime. I'd like to meet another smart kid our age. Derek's smile was sharp as broken glass. Interesting you should mention that, David. I've been thinking the same thing. Really? That's great. We could show him around Connecticut. Take him to Yale, maybe. Give him the Ivy League experience. He might enjoy that. Derek set down his fork with deliberate precision, especially since he'd be visiting family. The word hung in the air like smoke from a gun. David looked confused. Family, Keisha. Derek's voice carried 18 years of buried truth. There's something we need to discuss. Derek, please. Her voice cracked under pressure. Something we should have discussed 18 years ago. David looked between them, confusion shifting toward concern. What's going on? Derek stood, moved to a cabinet, and retrieved the photograph. The one from Cape Cod, evidence of a night that changed everything. He placed it on the table between them. David stared at the image. His father, a young black woman, both smiling on a beach somewhere, both looking happy in a way he'd never seen his father look. When was this taken? David's voice grew quiet. Summer 2006. Cape Cod, a very difficult time in my life. Derek's confession came slowly, deliberately. I met someone extraordinary. Someone who saved me from making the worst mistake of my life. You mean suicide? David wasn't asking. He was remembering. Yes, your mother's divorce. The federal investigation. I was drowning. Then I met Keisha. David looked at her with new understanding. You saved my father's life. I sat with him on a beach. That's all. That's everything. Derek moved closer to the table. We spent one night together. Then she disappeared. I tried to find her for months. But you did find her. She's here now. I found her 3 days ago. Quite by accident. She's been working here for a week. David's confusion deepened. I don't understand. If you knew each other before, why the secrecy? Derek picked up the photograph, studied their younger faces. Because 18 years ago, our night together had consequences we're both still dealing with. The truth hung in the air like a loaded weapon. David looked at Keisha, at the photograph, at his father. Mathematics working behind intelligent eyes. Consequences. David repeated the word slowly. Her son Marcus, or 9 months later, 18 years old. No father listed on his birth certificate. David went completely still. Color drained from his face. Are you saying? I'm saying you have a brother. The words exploded across the dining room like grenades. David stared at Derek, then at Keisha, then back at his father. A brother. Half-brother, Derek corrected. But yes. David stood abruptly, knocking over his water glass. Crystal shattered on hardwood floors. How long have you known? 3 days. How long has she known? 18 years. David turned to Keisha with something between betrayal and understanding in his eyes. You've known my father had another son for 18 years and said nothing? I was protecting Marcus. From what? From us? From his family? From disappointment? From a father who might not want him? From a world he didn't belong in? That wasn't your choice to make. David's voice carried pain and anger in equal measure. You stole 18 years of his life. 18 years of my brother's life. I gave him a life. A good life. A life where he was wanted and loved. He could have been wanted and loved here too. The argument cut to the heart of everything. 2 different worlds. 2 different definitions of family. Derek watched his son's first fight with the weary satisfaction of someone whose secrets had finally exploded. David, he said quietly, there's more. More. David laughed, but sounded like breaking glass. What could possibly be more than finding out I have a secret brother? Derek reached for his phone. Marcus doesn't know about us. About any of us. He thinks his father abandoned them. Because you did. Because I didn't know he existed. David sank back into his chair. This is insane. Completely insane. This is family, Derek corrected. Complicated, messy, painful family. What happens now? Now we call you brother. Derek's finger hovered over the phone. Now we tell him the truth. Vidic? No. Keisha reached for the phone. Please. Not like this. Then how? She looked at both men. Father and son. Her son's family, whether she liked it or not. Let me call him. Let me explain. Let me prepare him. For what? For the fact that his entire life just changed. Derek handed her the phone. You have one chance to do this right, Keisha. Don't run again. She took the phone with trembling hands. 18 years of secrets balanced on a phone call that would change everything. Should they keep fighting or walk away? Tell us what you do. Keisha held Derek's phone like it contained explosives. Both men watched her with the intensity of judges waiting for a verdict. The shattered water glass reflected chandelier light across the dining room floor. I need privacy for this call. No. Derek's voice was firm. No more secrets. No more privacy. He's our son. We do this together. Our son. The words hit like physical blows. He's going to hate all of us. Maybe, David said quietly. But he deserves to choose for himself. Smart kid. Too smart. Just like Marcus. Keisha dialed the number she knew by heart. It rang once. Twice. 3 times. Hey, Mama. You're calling early tonight. Marcus's voice filled the silent dining room through Derek's speakerphone. Both men leaned forward at the sound of their son and brother speaking for the first time. Bubby, how was school? Weird day. That consulting firm called again. Asked if I wanted to meet someone who'd been looking for me. Suspicion crept into Marcus's tone. Ma.
My name is Derek Morrison. I'm your... Derek paused, searching for the right words. I'm your biological father. My biological father. Marcus's voice went completely flat. The man who abandoned us. I didn't abandon you. I didn't know you existed. Because my mother lied to you too? Because your mother was protecting you from a very complicated situation. What situation? Derek looked at Keisha. She nodded permission for truth. 18 years ago, I was under federal investigation for financial crimes. My marriage was ending. My business was failing. I was emotionally unstable and potentially facing prison time. Derek's confession came clean and direct. Your mother was 19 years old. I was 35. We met once. We had one night together. She left before I could give her my real name. One night stand. Marcus's voice carried new pain. I'm the result of a one-night stand. You're the result of 2 people finding each other when they both needed saving. Pretty words for random sex. Marcus. Keisha's voice carried warning. What, Mama? We're telling the truth now, right? No more lies. His anger was building. My father is some rich white man who slept with you once and forgot you existed. I never forgot her, Derek said quietly. I looked for her for months. Not hard enough. Hard enough to know she didn't want to be found. Because she was pregnant with your child. Because she was protecting your child from a mess he didn't deserve. David leaned toward the phone. Marcus? This is David. Your half-brother. Another long silence. Half-brother. Marcus's voice cracked completely. I have a brother. Yeah, you do. David's voice was gentle. And I've been wanting a brother my whole life. This is insane. Marcus's control finally shattered. Completely insane. My whole life is a lie. Everything I thought I knew is wrong. Not everything, Keisha whispered. I love you. That was never a lie. But everything else was. His pain cut through the phone line like a blade. My name, my family, my identity. All lies. Marcus, please. I need to think. I can't do this right now. Don't hang up, Derek said urgently. Please. We can work this out. Work what out? 18 years of deception. A family I never knew existed. A father who's rich enough to buy and sell my entire world. 2 weeks after their confrontation, Derek finds himself doing something he never thought possible. He's driving to a small apartment complex in Hartford, a bag of groceries in his back seat and his hands shaking on the steering wheel. The building is nothing like his world. No doorman, no marble lobby, just concrete steps and the smell of someone's dinner cooking through thin walls. Marcus opens the door before Derek can knock. The boy looks exactly like Derek did at 18. Same eyes, same stubborn jaw, same way of standing like he's ready for a fight. You actually came, Marcus says, stepping aside. The apartment is small but clean. Keisha has made it home with photos on every surface and plants by the windows. Derek sets the groceries on the kitchen counter, feeling completely out of place. Have you ever walked into a room where you don't belong? Where every item tells a story you weren't part of? Keisha's working late. Marcus explains, opening the refrigerator. She does that when she's nervous. Derek nods, unsure what to say. How do you start a conversation with the son you never knew existed? She told me about you. Marcus continues, pulling out 2 sodas. About Cape Cod. About why she never said anything. What did she tell you? Marcus hands him a soda and sits on the couch. That you had your own life, your own family, that she didn't want to mess that up. Derek sits across from him, studying this young man who shares his DNA but none of his experiences. She was protecting you, Marcus says quietly. From people who would look at you different if they knew about me. The honesty hits Derek like a punch. I would have helped. If I'd known Dash. Would you have? Marcus interrupts. Really? Or would you have paid her to stay quiet and moved on? Derek opens his mouth to protest, then closes it. Because honestly, he's not sure what 28-year-old Derek would have done. But something strange happens over the next hour. They start talking. About basketball. Marcus plays for his community college team. About business. The kid has ideas about starting his own company. About life in 2 completely different worlds. You know what's crazy? Marcus says as Derek gets ready to leave. I used to imagine my dad was someone important, someone powerful. Derek stops at the door. And now? Marcus smiles, and it's Derek's smile, no question. Now I think maybe being important isn't the same as being good. Like, comment and share if you've ever realized that the people who matter most aren't always the ones with the most money. Derek drives home with Marcus's words echoing in his head. For the first time in years, he's questioning everything he thought he knew about success. 3 days later, Derek does something that shocks everyone who knows him. He shows up at Marcus's basketball game. The gymnasium is packed with families cheering for their kids. Derek sits in the back, feeling like he's watching his son's life through a window he was never supposed to see. Marcus plays point guard. He's fast, smart, and has this way of seeing the whole court that reminds Derek of himself in business meetings. When Marcus makes a steal and scores, Derek finds himself standing up and cheering. A woman next to him smiles. That's my nephew, she says proudly. Marcus Williams. Kid's got a full scholarship to UConn next year. Derek's heart stops. Scholarship? academic and athletic. First in his family to go to college. His mama works 3 jobs to keep him focused on school instead of the streets. 3 jobs. Derek thinks about his own son Christopher, who's never worked a day in his life and barely graduated high school despite the most expensive private tutors money can buy. After the game, Derek waits by his car. Marcus comes out with a group of friends, still laughing about something that happened in the locker room. Derek. Marcus stops when he sees him. "You came. You played well," Derek says and means it. Marcus tells his friends he'll catch up with them later. They walk a few steps away from the crowd. "I didn't think you'd show up," Marcus admits. "I didn't think I would either." They stand there for a moment, 2 strangers trying to figure out how to be something more. "Look," Derek says finally, "I know I can't make up for 18 years, but maybe we can figure out what comes next." Marcus nods slowly. "Mom says you want to tell your family about me. You do, but I want to make sure you're ready for that. Once it's out there, everything changes." Changes how? Derek looks at this young man, his son, standing under a parking lot light in a neighborhood he would never have visited before 2 weeks ago. People are going to have opinions. About you, about your mother, about all of this. Some of them won't be kind. Marcus straightens up. "I've been dealing with people's opinions my whole life. The difference is, now I'll have a father who can stand with me." The simple faith in those words nearly breaks Derek's heart. But as they say goodbye and Derek drives back to Greenwich, neither of them notices the car that's been following Derek since he left his office. Someone is watching. Someone who's been waiting for exactly this moment. And tomorrow, everything Derek and Marcus just started building is about to face its first real test. Derek's first instinct is to control the situation like he controls everything else in his life. But Marcus has other ideas. "I want to meet Christopher," Marcus says during their 3rd dinner together at a diner halfway between their worlds. Derek nearly chokes on his coffee. That's not a good idea. Why? Because he won't like having a brother who didn't grow up rich. The directness catches Derek off guard. Because Christopher isn't. He's not like you. Marcus raises an eyebrow. Different how? Derek struggles to find words that don't make his legitimate son sound like a spoiled disappointment. He's had different opportunities, different pressures. "You mean he's had everything handed to him, and I've had to work for everything I've got?" "That's not what I meant. But it's true, isn't it?" Derek can't argue with that. Christopher is 22, still living at home, and has never held a job that wasn't created specifically for him at one of Derek's companies. Have you ever had to compare your children and realize you might have failed one of them? "Look," Marcus continues, "I'm not trying to take anything away from him, but if we're going to be family, we need to actually meet." Against his better judgment, Derek arranges lunch at the Greenwich Country Club. Neutral territory, he thinks. Civilized surroundings. He's wrong on both counts. Christopher arrives 20 minutes late, wearing clothes that cost more than most people make in a month. He spots Derek and Marcus at a table overlooking the golf course and approaches like he's walking to his execution. "Chris," Derek stands up. "I'd like you to meet Marcus." Marcus stands too, extending his hand. Christopher looks at it for a moment too long before shaking it briefly. "So you're the half-brother," Christopher says, sitting down without waiting for anyone else. "I'm your brother," Marcus corrects quietly. No halves about it. The lunch is excruciating. Christopher makes subtle comments about Marcus's clothes, his school, his neighborhood. Marcus responds with questions about Christopher's job, his goals, his accomplishments, questions that reveal exactly how little Christopher has actually done with his privileged life. "I hear you're going to UConn," Christopher says, cutting his steak with unnecessary force. "Dad went to Harvard." "I know," Marcus replies, "but UConn offered me a full ride based on my grades and basketball skills. I wanted to earn my way." The implication hangs in the air like smoke from a fire that's about to spread. Derek tries to steer the conversation to safer topics, but everything feels like a minefield. When Marcus mentions working at a grocery store to help pay for his car, Christopher laughs. "A job at 16? That's so quaint." Marcus sets down his fork. "What's quaint about taking responsibility?" "Nothing, I just meant dash." "You mean it's funny that some people have to work for what they want instead of having it given to them?" Derek feels the conversation spiraling. Other club members are starting to glance over at their table. Let's keep this civil, Derek says quietly. But Christopher isn't done. I'm just saying, some people have different advantages. It's not my fault I was born into this family. And it's not my fault I wasn't. Marcus shoots back. But at least I know what I'm worth without a trust fund backing me up. The tension explodes like a dam breaking. You think you're better than me? Christopher stands up, his voice getting louder. Marcus stays seated, which somehow makes him seem more in control. I think I know who I am without Daddy's money defining me. Derek watches his two sons, one he raised with every advantage, one who raised himself with nothing but determination, face off in the middle of the most exclusive club in Connecticut. And for the first time, he sees exactly what his money and protection have cost Christopher. Comment below if you've ever watched someone realize they've been living a lie. After Christopher storms out, Derek and Marcus sit in uncomfortable silence. That went well, Marcus finally says. He's not usually like that. Marcus gives Derek a look that says they both know that's not true. He's scared, Marcus says quietly. Scared that you'll love me more because I remind you of who you used to be before you got rich. The observation is so accurate, it takes Derek's breath away. And maybe you should be scared, Derek admits. Because watching you these past few weeks, you have something he lost along the way. What's that? You know who you are without anyone else telling you. They drive back toward Hartford in Derek's Mercedes. The leather seats and classical music feeling both luxurious and empty after the confrontation with Christopher. Can I ask you something? Marcus says as they pull up to his apartment complex. Derek nods. When you look at me, do you see yourself or do you see her? The question hits Derek like a physical blow. Both, he admits. Your determination is mine. Your kindness is hers. Marcus smiles. That same smile Derek saw in a mirror 30 years ago, before the money and the pressure changed everything about his life. Maybe that's not such a bad combination. As Marcus gets out of the car, Derek makes a decision that will change everything. Marcus, he calls out, how would you feel about coming to the company gala next month? Marcus pauses at his door. As your son, as my son. But as Derek drives home, his phone starts buzzing with messages he doesn't expect. Someone has been taking photos. Someone has been watching. And tomorrow, Derek is going to discover that some secrets are too big to keep, even when you're ready to tell them yourself. Derek's phone won't stop ringing. It starts at 6 in the morning with his assistant calling in a panic. Then his lawyer. Then his publicist. By the time Derek checks his email, he understands why. The photos are everywhere. Derek and Marcus at the diner. At the basketball game. At the country club confrontation with Christopher. Every private moment over the past month, captured and leaked to the press with a story that makes Derek look like everything he never wanted to be. The headline in the Greenwich Times reads, Billionaire's secret love child exposed. Housekeeper's 18-year silence finally broken. But it's not the story Derek and Marcus agreed to tell. It's twisted, ugly, making Keisha look like a gold digger and Marcus like an opportunistic kid trying to cash in on his father's wealth. Derek is reading the article when his doorbell rings. He opens it to find Keisha standing on his doorstep, holding the same newspaper, tears streaming down her face. How could you do this? She demands, pushing past him into the house. I didn't dash. Don't lie to me. You promised this would be handled quietly. You promised no one would get hurt. Derek stares at the newspaper in her hands. Someone has painted Marcus as a basketball player looking for his big payday, and Keisha as a domestic worker who kept her baby daddy's identity secret until she saw dollar signs. It's character assassination disguised as journalism. Keisha, I swear to you, I didn't leak this. She looks around his massive foyer with disgust. Then who did? Because these photos didn't take themselves. Derek's mind is racing. Someone has been following him. Someone with access to his personal life, his schedule, his family. The realization hits him like ice water. Christopher. Keisha stops pacing. What? My son. Christopher. He was angry after lunch. He felt threatened. Derek pulls out his phone and calls Christopher. It goes straight to voicemail. Then he calls his ex-wife, Linda. Derek. Linda answers on the first ring, her voice cold. I suppose you're calling about the newspaper. Did Christopher do this? Do what? Expose the truth about your cheating? Derek feels the walls closing in. Linda, I told you what happened. It was one night, 18 years ago, when we were separated. Separated doesn't mean divorced, Derek. It doesn't mean free to knock up the help. The venom in her voice tells Derek everything he needs to know. You helped him, Derek says quietly. You helped Christopher destroy them. I helped my son protect his inheritance from some opportunistic dash. Derek hangs up. Keisha is watching him with growing horror. It was your family. Your own family did this to my son. Have you ever trusted someone only to discover they were planning to betray you the whole time? I'm going to fix this, Derek says desperately. I'll call the newspaper, demand a retraction dash. You can't fix this, Keisha shouts. Do you know what Marcus was doing when I left to come here? He was packing. He wants to give up his scholarship and leave town because he can't handle shame. Derek's heart sinks. Where is he? Somewhere I can't find him. He left his phone at home and took my car. The car he worked 2 summers to help me buy. The pain in her voice is unbearable. Keisha, let me dash. No. She wipes her eyes and straightens up. This is exactly what I was afraid of 18 years ago. This is why I never told you. Because your world destroys people like us. She heads for the door, then turns back. You want to know the real tragedy? For 3 weeks, I watched my son light up every time he talked about you. He was so proud to have a father, so excited about bringing you to his graduation, introducing you to his friends. Derek can barely breathe. Now he's ashamed. Ashamed of me. Ashamed of himself. Ashamed of wanting to know you in the first place. She opens the door, then pauses one more time. That boy worked 18 years to become someone he could be proud of. Your family destroyed that in 18 hours. After Keisha leaves, Derek sits in his empty mansion and does something he hasn't done in 20 years. He cries, not just for Marcus and Keisha, not just for the trust he's lost or the damage that's been done. He cries for the man he used to be before the money made him forget that some things are more valuable than protecting your reputation. But crying won't fix this. And Derek Morrison didn't build a billion-dollar empire by giving up when things got complicated. He picks up his phone and makes a call that will either save his relationship with his son or cost him everything else he has left. This is Derek Morrison, he says when the phone is answered. I need to schedule a press conference for tomorrow morning. What's the topic, sir? Derek looks at the newspaper photo of Marcus, his son, looking proud and hopeful in a moment before the world tried to tear him down. The truth, Derek says. I want to tell the truth. But by the time Derek's press conference happens, Marcus will have made a decision that changes everything. And some truths come too late to matter. Derek's press conference is scheduled for 10 in the morning, but at 9:30, Marcus Williams walks into the Hartford police station and turns himself in for a crime he didn't commit. Derek finds out when a reporter calls him 5 minutes before he's supposed to go on camera. Mr. Morrison? Channel 8 News. We're hearing that Marcus Williams has confessed to vandalizing your country club. Can you comment? Derek's blood turns to ice. The vandalism happened 2 weeks ago. Someone spray-painted messages about inequality on the club's tennis courts. Derek never connected it to Marcus, never even thought about it. But someone did. Derek cancels the press conference and drives straight to the police station, his mind racing. Marcus is protecting someone, or someone is framing him. Either way, this is Derek's fault. At the police station, Derek Finn. But he would sacrifice himself to protect his mother from more negative press. Where is he? Interview room. They won't let me see him until he's processed. Derek stands up and walks to the desk sergeant. I am Derek Morrison. I want to see Marcus Williams. The sergeant recognizes the name from the newspapers. Are you pressing charges, sir? Derek stares at the man. In one sentence, he could confirm Marcus's confession and let the boy take responsibility for something he didn't do. It would end the media attention, give Derek an excuse to walk away from this complicated family situation. It would be the easiest thing in the world. No, Derek says quietly. I'm not pressing charges, and I want to talk to him. The sergeant hesitates. He's already confessed, sir. This is just a formality dash. I said I want to talk to him. Sometimes the power that comes with money can actually be used for something good. 5 minutes later, Derek is sitting across from Marcus in a small room that smells like stale coffee and broken dreams. Marcus looks exhausted, defeated, nothing like the confident young man Derek has been getting to know. "Why did you do this?" Derek asks. Marcus won't meet his eyes. "You read the papers. You know what kind of person I am. I know what kind of person you are. And you didn't vandalize anything." For the first time, Marcus looks up. "How do you know that?" "Because I know you." Derek leans forward. "The question is, who are you protecting?" Marcus's jaw tightens. "Nobody." Derek pulls out his phone and shows Marcus a photo. This is from the country club's security camera. The vandalism happened at 2 in the morning on a Tuesday. You were working at the grocery store until midnight that night. I checked. Then you went home and helped your mother study for her nursing exam until 3 a.m. Your neighbor, Mrs. Rodriguez, confirmed it. Marcus stares at the phone screen. "You investigated me?" "I investigated the truth." Derek puts the phone away. "Now tell me who really did this and why you're taking the blame." The silence stretches between them like a wire about to snap. Finally, Marcus speaks. "Some guys from school. They were angry about the newspaper article. Said it made our whole neighborhood look bad, like we were all trying to get rich off famous people." Derek's heart sinks. "So they vandalized my club?" "They were drunk. Stupid. They didn't mean for it to be such a big deal." Marcus's voice drops to a whisper. "But when the cops started asking questions, when they said it was a felony because of how much damage was done, I couldn't let them throw their lives away over something that happened because of me. It didn't happen because of you. It happened because someone in my family decided to destroy you." Marcus looks up sharply. "What do you mean?" Derek tells him about Christopher and Linda. About the photos, the leaked story, the calculated campaign to make Marcus and Keisha look like opportunists. "Your family did this?" Marcus asks, his voice hollow. "Not my family. The people who used to be my family." Derek reaches across the table and puts his hand over Marcus's. "You want to know what family really means? It means I'm not leaving this police station until you walk out with me. Like and subscribe if you believe family isn't just about blood. It's about who shows up when everything falls apart." Marcus stares at their joined hands. "What about your reputation? Your business? What about it? If you defend me, if you make this public, people will choose sides. Some of your clients won't understand." Derek smiles, really smiles for the first time in days. Then they weren't the kind of clients I wanted anyway. An hour later, Derek and Marcus walk out of the police station together. The charges have been dropped. The real vandals, 2 kids from Marcus's school, have been identified and will make restitution through community service. But more importantly, Derek has made a choice about who he wants to be. The reporters are waiting outside, cameras rolling, questions flying. "Mr. Morrison, is Marcus your son?" "Mr. Morrison, will this affect your business?" "Mr. Morrison, what do you say to people who think this is all about money?" Derek stops on the steps and puts his arm around Marcus's shoulders. "Marcus Williams is my son," he says clearly, his voice carrying across the crowd. "I'm proud of him. I'm proud of the young man he's become without any help from me. And if anyone has a problem with that, they can take it up with me." Marcus looks at Derek with something that might be the beginning of respect. But as they drive away from the police station, neither of them sees Christopher Morrison watching from across the street, his face twisted with rage. This isn't over. Some battles are just beginning. 6 months later, Derek Morrison stands at a high school gymnasium in Hartford, watching his son give the valedictorian speech to a crowd of proud families. The scandal has died down. The business survived, actually thrived, as younger clients appreciated Derek's honesty about his complicated family situation. Christopher has been cut off financially until he agrees to therapy and makes amends. Linda has moved to California, taking her bitterness with her. But some changes run deeper than newspaper headlines. "Family," Marcus says into the microphone, his cap and gown making him look older than his 18 years, "isn't always who you expect it to be. Sometimes it's the person who shows up when you need them most, even if they're 20 years late." Derek feels Keisha squeeze his hand. She's wearing her nursing school graduation pin. She finished the program Derek helped her pay for, but only after making it clear she was accepting a loan, not charity. "Sometimes," Marcus continues, The people who are supposed to love you unconditionally are the ones who try to tear you down. And sometimes the strangers become your strongest supporters. Derek thinks about his business partners who rallied around him during the crisis. His housekeeper, Rosa, who quit the same day Linda leaked the story because she couldn't work for people who hurt children. His lawyer, who refused payment for handling the press conference because some things are more important than billable hours. Have you ever discovered that your real family was nothing like what you expected? Marcus finishes his speech to thunderous applause. As he walks across the stage to accept his diploma, Derek sees himself at 18, hungry for success, determined to prove himself, completely unaware of what the future holds. But Marcus has something Derek never had at that age. He has choices, college on a full scholarship, a father who wants to know him, not control him, a mother who sacrificed everything to make sure he could dream bigger than their circumstances. After the ceremony, they go to dinner at the same diner where Derek and Marcus had their first real conversation. It's become a tradition. Every Friday night, the three of them sit in the same booth and talk about everything and nothing. So, Derek says, cutting into his apple pie, Yukon orientation is next week. Marcus nods. I'm ready. Are you? Keisha asks. Because college is different from high school. More freedom, more temptation, more ways to get distracted for what matters. Derek recognizes the protective worry in her voice. He felt the same way when Christopher went to college, though Christopher had already been distracted from what mattered long before he left home. I'll be fine, Mom, Marcus says gently. Besides, Derek's only an hour away if I need someone to talk sense into me. The casual use of his first name still catches Derek off guard sometimes. Not Dad. They haven't earned that yet. Maybe they never will. But something more than Mr. Morrison. Something that acknowledges the connection without pretending the lost years don't matter. Speaking of which, Derek pulls an envelope from his jacket pocket. I have something for you. Marcus opens it carefully. Inside is a check for $10,000 and a letter. Marcus reads the letter silently, his expression changing from curiosity to surprise to something that might be gratitude. What does it say? Keisha asks. Marcus looks up at Derek. It's not for me. It's for a scholarship fund, for kids from single-parent families who want to go to college. Derek nods. I thought we could call it the Keisha Williams Scholarship for Academic Achievement. Keisha's eyes fill with tears. Derek, you don't have to dash. I know I don't have to. I want to. Derek looks between the two people who have become the most important part of his life. You both taught me something these past months. Success isn't about what you accumulate. It's about what you give back. Share this video if you believe success should be measured by how many people you lift up, not just how high you climb. As they leave the diner, Keisha pulls Derek aside while Marcus gets the car. Can I ask you something honestly? Derek nods. Do you ever regret that night in Cape Cod? Not because of the complications, but because of how different your life might have been if we'd never met. Derek thinks about it. Without that night, he never would have known Marcus, never would have been forced to examine what kind of father he'd become to Christopher, never would have learned that love isn't something you can buy or control. It's something you have to earn every single day. The only thing I regret, he says quietly, is that it took me 18 years to find my way back to both of you. Keisha smiles. The same smile that caught his attention all those years ago in Cape Cod. Maybe we found each other exactly when we were supposed to. As Derek drives home to his empty mansion, he passes Christopher's apartment complex. His older son has been working at a non-profit downtown, slowly learning what it means to earn something instead of inheriting it. They have coffee sometimes. It's awkward, but it's a start. Derek's phone buzzes with a text from Marcus. Thanks for dinner. And for everything else. See you next Friday. Derek saves the text and puts his phone away. Some stories don't have clean endings. Some families are built from mistakes and held together by forgiveness. Some fathers get a second chance to figure out what really matters. But perhaps the most important truth is this. It's never too late to choose who you want to be, even if you're 20 years behind schedule. Comment below and tell us about a time when someone unexpected became family to you. And remember to subscribe because next week, we're sharing another story about the secrets that connect us all.